Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to A Valid Answer with Scott and Marshall. We're your favorite capitalist conservative pastor and your favorite socialist liberal atheist come together every week, Sundays at 5, Mondays at 4, to talk about all the things that are happening in the news and things that are happening with politics and religion and all that kind of stuff. What was that?
I pinched you.
Why?
You're not wearing green. Oh, I thought you were going to do some underwear thing. Look, I got it under. No. Okay, you got.
So that means I get to roundhouse you in the face with my green shoes.
Oh my gosh. Well, now look who's in trouble, right? You know?
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is this?
No, what's this? You think that's green?
Yeah,
it's seafoam blue is what that is.
Are you kidding? This is like Ireland's natural color.
By the way, in case we are broadcasting on St. Patrick's Day, in case you guys are watching this a little bit later, but no, I actually had that response. It's funny that you did that. I actually had that response. What did I tell you? Did I tell you, Josh? Somebody told I'm just gonna roundhouse somebody in the face if they say you're not wearing green. I go, I'm gonna smack them in the face with my green shoes.
Well, I got it coming. I better run when the show is over.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen when this show's over?
I'm gonna win the podcast, if you will.
Yeah. No, you thought I was going to be like, oh yeah, I got green underwear. You're like, what's going on?
No, that does not count. But
yeah, I'm
anyway.
like, what are you doing? What? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got distracted here. I gotta load that up in there. So, tell them what have you been doing? I'm going to tell you what I did this weekend. I went racing. What did you do this weekend?
I saw that you got racing. I haven't done a darn thing. I've tried to relax because I'm going to have a pretty busy week or so at work, and I just want to have as much rest as I can before that starts, and then away we go. But I saw that you went racing. You did the fastest pastor, and then you got in a wreck. And
yeah, it's called the race is the particular little race is called the Faster Pastor, and it's part of the Faith and Family Night over at the Kern County.
So you wreck cars.
We race each other, and we've done this before, and it's been like these kind of regular race cars, little 4-cylinder race cars, and they did something. They changed it up on us this year, and what they did was that they had us drive, what are they called? The skid plate racers. And basically what they do is it's a front wheel drive car, and the rear wheels are there's no tires on them. They've welded a metal plate to there, and then welded chains to the tire so it can't rotate. So the whole back end just slides. So you're driving with the front wheels.
You're drifting the whole time.
And you're drifting the whole time. So there's no control. It's like driving on ice. The car's just all over the place. And I made one turn. I went, whoop, and I turned, and as I spun out, this other car went bam right into me.
Wow.
Kind of bruised me on my arm. And
Christian fun.
Yeah. Basically, like Josh Gunderson put on there, it's basically Christian demolition derby. Yeah, because it was wrecked up. Yeah. Okay, I'll try. How do I do that?
After the show.
After the show. I'll put a link to or if you follow me on Facebook, I posted a video of my crash because I actually had a camera in my car at the time trying to film me winning. And no, that was absolutely not winning. It was
winning like Donald Trump.
Yeah, winning like no. So and so my car completely just lost the transmission. I'm sitting out there, the car comes to a stop. And I'm like trying to change gears, and I change gears. It's just not going anywhere. I'm like, okay. And as I'm sitting there, car's still coming around. All of a sudden, there's just smoke coming out from my engine. I'm like, did this thing catch on fire? What's going on? I look over the emergency vehicles. Nobody's coming to get me. Is it red, yellow light? Nope, it's still green light. Cars going around me. I could be hit any moment. And I'm like, I know I should not get out. I'm not going to get out. But at some point, if I start seeing flames, I got to get out of this. I go, but it must not be that bad because the emergency vehicles, no, I'm like motioning to them. Like, am I supposed to? And they're just sitting there. I'm like, all right, I guess this is okay that my car is smoking and I'm sitting out here. And eventually, they just came in behind me and just with what was it? Like a tractor or something like that. And just pushed me all the way out. So, oh yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. I'm a little sore from the racing straps. I got bruises on my shoulders and stuff like that. And I'm really, really, really tired. But like I said, doing this right here, what we're doing right now, this gives me energy. I love doing this. I love talking. I love getting on here. I love it when you guys are participating and communicating with us. And thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are talking with us right now, thank you so much for participating and being here with us. This gives us energy and why we do what we do.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So apparently I had a more interesting weekend than you.
And that's fine. That's just fine.
Because last week I think you had a more interesting weekend.
It happens.
Yep.
But I have a question.
Yes.
To kick off everything tonight.
Yes.
And the question is, the United States has approximately 800 military bases and installations around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why?
To keep us safe.
To keep
Thank
us
you very
safe.
much. There's our show for tonight. You can see us on Sundays at... Okay.
To keep us safe.
Yes.
How do you know it's to keep us safe?
Because we're safe.
Well...
Especially more relative to other countries. Especially relative to the countries that those bases are in. Uh-oh. Give me just a second. The alarm is going off here at the building.
You're safe, but apparently
yeah.
not.
So, here.
All right, little emergency here. We will have to pause while we resolve this little difficulty.
Seriously. You're wearing green? Tell me about that.
Oh, my gosh. Scott's like, someone quick, fill in the empty space. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight is how the United States has approximately 800 bases all around the globe. And it is being sold to us as a means of protecting our nation and protecting our people. Much is made of the threat of things like Islamic terrorists and so on. And somehow this justifies having the 800 military bases around the globe, including bases in countries like Japan, which I haven't heard of any terrorists coming from Japan. Bases in South America, I haven't heard of any terrorists coming from South America. There might be some exceptions. I haven't heard of it. As well as many bases simply out there at sea in the Pacific, in the Atlantic, in the Indian Ocean. We have all these 800 bases. And again, the claim is, just to repeat what you missed, is that we need these bases to keep us safe.
Yep, and they do.
And who, from whom? Who is threatening us? Who's the danger?
Everybody.
Everybody?
Yes. When you are the big person on the top of the hill, everybody is coming after you to take you down.
Okay, but yet we have these bases in countries like Brazil. Is Brazil trying to take us down?
Anybody would try to, yes.
So Brazil is a threat. So why hasn't Brazil expelled Americans from their territory and then, counterattacked us? Or why aren't we bombing Brazil?
There's no reason to bomb Brazil.
But you said that they're a threat to us.
Oh, so we put a presence there, and it acts as a deterrent. Not all threats have to be punched in the face.
It's a deterrent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not all threats have to be punched in the face.
Okay, so
that's the whole, walk softly and carry a big stick.
What about Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean? I mean, the whole island, we've taken over the whole island. Is Diego Garcia a threat to the United States?
No, but it's a strategic point so that we can carry out what we need to around the world.
Which is what? Bomb whatever country we want on demand?
If that's what it's needed, yes.
If that's what's needed.
If that's what's needed to keep Americans safe. The American military is there to keep Americans safe.
Russia, Britain, and France combined have less than 30 bases combined. There's about 30 bases split up between them.
Yeah.
Those are our closest competitors. We have in excess of 800 or around 800.
Right. And again, that number, I looked at that number, that's even counting like if it's a radar station, it's called a base. So it's not, they're not all bases. So just to challenge your facts, they're not all bases.
Okay. Well,
there could be an installation.
And we spend more than the top 12 nations combined.
Yep,
We spend
I have no problem with that.
Quantity of money.
I have no problem with that. Keeping Americans
okay
safe.
with kids having dilapidated schools and Flint not having clean drinking water as long as we've got a new stealth bomber on the way.
As long as we're safe.
As long as we're safe.
Yes.
From whom?
From anybody who would want to challenge us.
So you can't even identify the threat.
That's what's great. Can you identify the threat? Why do you lock your door at home? Can you identify a specific threat, a specific person that you're locking your door from?
Do you know how much a lock costs?
Right. So this is just a really expensive lock. But what I'm saying,
yeah.
no, but it's still, but it's still the same perspective. You lock your door against what threat? Can you name the threat that you lock your door to?
No, I can't.
Okay. Well, that's the same thing, but you lock it to keep the threat out. And then you have your guard dog that's out there, and you have your sign that says, I'm not saying you actually do, but I'm saying that's what people do. They have their guard dog, they have their sign, they pay for security, they buy the security locks up there, they pay a monthly fee to whatever security service they want to. They go through all of this against what? Name a threat, name an actual threat. We don't know, but we want to be safe from whatever threat might try to challenge us.
Okay, so Eisenhower spoke about this, the analogy
Oh,
of the
yeah,
rock
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Really?
I've heard that.
Really? You're just going to punt on this, huh? Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. The world in arms is not spending money alone. And he goes on, and I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but what I'm telling you is when we choose to spend money on military defense, we're spending an enormous amount of treasure to drop bombs around the world, or to just be ready to drop bombs, or to literally annihilate half the planet. And there's no return on this investment for us. And I don't know that it necessarily
on the investment
makes
is
it
safe living.
Well, no, because there's a tremendous body of evidence that our bombing campaigns in places around the world actually diminish our safety. Why do you think Osama bin Laden attacked us? Do you know what his stated motivation was for the 9/11 attacks?
Go ahead.
Okay, it was our presence in Saudi Arabia, our sustained long-term presence in Saudi Arabia, long after the Iraq War, the first, Desert Storm. We continued to remain in Saudi Arabia. He was highly offended by this behavior.
So have your government make negotiations and get us out. That's happened before.
But the United States, of course, wasn't going to leave, and we didn't leave. So
Okay,
why didn't we leave? Can you imagine the reason why we didn't leave Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. Because it's a hotbed for terrorism in that area, and it's better to fight it over there than it is to let it come over here.
Okay, and have you got data on that? Have you got any kind of evidence? Have you got even a news article?
I'm sorry.
That
You're asking,
Saudi Arabia is a hotbed of terrorism.
No, the Middle
looking to
no.
attack us here in
The
United
Middle
States.
East is a hotbed of terrorism, and Saudi Arabia is a friendly country that'll let us have a base there, so that we can have a base of operations against the threats that are in the Middle East. There are absolute threats in the Middle East.
So we can bomb Yemen, and we can participate in a civil war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. We are active participants in a proxy war that's causing the mass death and literal starvation of millions of people, including small children. And we're perpetuating
We
this.
are there, and we provide food, and we provide shelter.
No,
we
we're
provide
providing
yes.
bombs and
no,
starvation.
the United States military provides. Yeah, they provide food. They bring all that. They try to protect that. A lot of times their hands are tied because of UN and all this other kind of crap.
This is not the candy bomber, okay? That was a thing after World War II where we had a B-17 that dropped candy. We are not dropping candy, man. Our drones, Predator drones, do not drop shelter on people.
But
they fire Hellfire missiles.
Yes,
to kill
that's
people.
one half of it, and another part of the military that does drop food. You're saying the military doesn't drop food?
Why do we?
Does the military drop food? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yes.
I'll say yes. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Thank
But
you.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why do we need
Yes,
the
it does.
Why do we need the military to drop food? Why
Because
not?
that
Why
is,
not have
honestly,
a church drop food?
The church does, but the military is a very efficient way of doing it. They already have infrastructure for doing all that and dropping it and doing all. So it makes sense to use something that already has the infrastructure.
This is the single largest government apparatus in the nation, in the world. And you are Mr. Small Government, yet you are very much pro massive government spending, massive government bureaucracy, military spending and bureaucracy. Why not privatize this and let private organizations drop food if that's all we need to do?
Cool. All right.
Okay. So you're going to agree with me then that we need to close down probably all or many of these bases, and we need to hand over these humanitarian projects to private actors.
So and those private charities are going to have some sort of defense?
Well, if they're not bombing people, who's going to want to attack them? Who's
all the warlords who attack them anyway? They have to be protected when they go into these areas. They have to be protected to deliver the food.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, you're telling me is when you look at the world, you see a world filled with hostility and threats towards the United States.
Absolutely. Potential.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I see, and again, that's why I lock my doors at night.
How do you know that you're not being deceived?
Unless you don't lock your doors at night.
How do you know that you're not being deceived by propaganda? That you're being told that we constantly have these enemies and we can't name them for you, but they are out there and they are looking to get you. And therefore, we need to spend trillions of dollars annually on defense.
Because it didn't work.
Because that sure is convenient.
Because it didn't work for World War II. Nope, we're not going to get involved outside of our own little thing. We got attacked on our own territory by an actual army, not a terrorist action, but an actual army attacked our territories, threatened to come into our territories. When we stayed, we're going to protect ourselves and just build this little. That didn't work for us for World War II. Okay, so now we're going to take the fight away from our country, and we're going to keep the fight away from our country, and we're going to push back those who attacked us, and we're going to establish a base of operations there to make sure that they don't. And we're going to continue. We are going to keep the fight away from our country and our people. That's what the military does. The military keeps the fight away from here. Because focusing just on being here, if our military just stayed within our borders and just stayed right here, the fight would be here. That already has happened. That already did happen. And I would prefer our military to keep the fight away from us.
Okay, so do we have an enemy in Japan?
We did. Yes, we did. And they attacked us.
Well, like 70 years ago. Do we have one there now?
No. You know why? Because we have a base there.
Really?
Yeah.
So if we close down our bases, then according to your logic, these other countries are going to turn right around and attack us?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's immediate, but there is the threat of it. I mean, is there not a threat from China?
No, in fact, not at all. No, China's interested in a few in fishing grounds off their coast and some farther afield, which is why they're building up. And they have territorial and imperial ambitions in the region, I think. However, they are also our largest trading partner. They hold
for how long?
Probably for a very long time, because it's more profitable for them to align with us and trade with us and buy our debt and get paid interest on our debt than to actually go to war with us. So why would they fight us if this is a very profitable arrangement for them? The Chinese middle class is larger than the American middle class, and that's because American dollars continue to be pumped towards China. They are not going to fight us. There's no reason for them to fight us. Now,
so why are they building up a military? Why are they building up such a large military?
Because I told you they have imperial ambitions across Southeast Asia.
They'll just stop at Southeast Asia. Got it.
Well, they might not, because look at what we did with the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah, so if we back off and shrink our military as they grow theirs, then it is now it is profitable to fight against America because now we're bigger. Well, I would rather America keep it profitable not to fight us. I would rather America spend its money and build up a large military that keeps everybody saying it makes more sense and it's more profitable for us to stay friends with America than to say, hey, we could probably take them and take them out, and then that would be more profitable. I would rather the rest of the world look at America and say it's more profitable to work with them than to conquer them.
Okay, so why don't we do that?
That's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. Our military is so big and so spread out. Would you as a nation try to conquer the United States militarily? Would any nation try to conquer the United States militarily?
No.
Then that's why the military.
Even if our military was a fraction of this size.
That's why the U.S. military is there.
I mean, holy cow! I wouldn't even want to invade England. I mean, it's separated by the English Channel. It's been well defended for centuries, and
it would have fallen without the United States' help.
No, it would not have. I don't even know how Germany seriously planned to invade England. It wasn't even realistic. Remember, the United States was not involved in World War II by the time Hitler canceled Sea Lion. So when Hitler canceled Operation Sea Lion, when he postponed it indefinitely, which was his plan to invade and conquer England, the United States still wasn't even in the war. So the fact is, England, this little tiny island nation, the fact that it's an island nation was heavily well defended by simply natural elements, the ocean itself. The United States, who's going to cross halfway around the world? That's the size of the Pacific Ocean, by the way, to literally land an invasion force and supply that force as it rolls across the United States. It's
nobody right now.
It's a logistical impossibility.
An impossibility.
Even for all of China, it's a logistical impossibility. And the same with the Atlantic. It simply cannot be done. We literally have a greater threat from Canada or Mexico. We've actually fought a war against Mexico than we do from China or Russia or any other country on the planet in terms of invading the United States and actually occupying our soil. So we have this massive imperial army around the globe
protecting its own. That's fine with me.
But against whom? Here's the crazy thing, Scott. You cannot identify the enemy.
Neither can you.
Yeah, well,
but you still lock your house.
ISIS and Al Qaeda.
No, but you still lock your house.
Dispatch those enemies.
But you still lock your house. Can you name
at a reasonable price? I'm not saying we shouldn't have a defense or a military. I'm not saying.
So we're just arguing about whether or not
ourselves.
this is reasonable. I feel it is reasonable to have such a large swath of army that covers so much of the world that it makes it an impossibility to attack the United States. You want to take the risk of bringing it smaller, like it was before World War II when we were attacked, when we were actually attacked on our own territory by, you want to bring it down to that. I would rather it not. I would rather have a military that pushes the threat away from our country. I would rather have that.
And if that were the case, I would agree with you. If I actually felt that there was some sort of emergent threat, I would agree with you. I would rather fight the enemy.
I'd rather not wait for an emergent threat.
Oh, okay. I get that. But I think there are more effective ways of preventing threats from developing, such as not bombing people in their homes, not occupying their countries when we're clearly not wanted there, not stealing their resources.
Not wanted by who?
Well, for example, I already mentioned the example of Osama bin Laden, and
But
I would imagine that most of the Islamic
But he was not the
world
leader
do
of
not
Saudi
want-
Arabia. The leader of Saudi Arabia wanted us. So if
No,
your
but he was
leader,
rich and powerful enough to form a terrorist organization,
okay, but I'm just saying
which, by the way, we helped develop.
Yeah.
But
But what I'm saying, the point I'm getting at is that there are negotiations. There are nations that we don't have bases on because we can't have bases there. There are places that our planes cannot fly because there are no negotiations there. Every place we have a base is because the leaders of that country have agreed to that. It's in one way or another they have allowed it. They can easily they can step up and say no, we're not going to allow this. Osama bin Laden shouldn't have had a problem with the United States. Should have a problem with Saudi Arabia making the deal with the United States.
So
why didn't he attack Saudi Arabia?
How would you explain Cuba then? Do you honestly think Fidel Castro appreciated Guantanamo Bay?
No, not at all.
Okay, so how do you explain that then? So the fact is,
because there was actual attacks there. There were actual threats. There were actual weapons pointed at the United States that we came in there and said, no, you can't have these here.
Well, of course there's weapons pointed at us. We're occupying foreign soil.
No, there were weapons there before we occupied. I'm sorry. Was the Cuban Missile Crisis with the nuclear weapons from Russia? What was there first, the Russian nukes or the military American base? Which came first?
That's a good question. I think the American base was there since the Spanish-American War.
At the
Guantanamo Bay, because we had a naval base but I think the Maine was blown up in 1898, but I think that was in Havana. I could be wrong.
So it was there because of an attack.
We can look this up if you really.
Okay, so it was there because of an attack.
Well, no. What happened was Cuba belonged to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
We basically we overthrew the Spanish in Cuba and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And part of, I guess, the spoils of war was we were able to maintain a presence there. Okay, but then of course you had the.
But why did we go there?
Castro
But why
Revolution,
did we go there in the first place?
the Spanish-American War. But then we had the Castro Revolution, and certainly we weren't welcome there, but the United States was not going to give up its base because it was a toehold in a communist nation. Okay, now the communism, it's still there, but it certainly has not been a credible threat since 1991. So even after the Cuban Missile Crisis, it became a stretch to say that Cuba was a threat to the United States. After 1991 and the fall of the Soviet Union, it became a ludicrous claim to suggest that Cuba in any way, shape, or form is a threat to anywhere in the United States.
So why give up a territory so close that could be a threat if we leave?
Because it's really not a threat. What could Cuba do to the United States? They barely have an air force.
It's not what Cuba can do. It's what Cuba's allies can do.
They have a lung cancer vaccine that I'd like them to
It's what Cuba's allies can do. Cuba could never do anything anyway.
Who is Cuba's allies? Venezuela? China, perhaps? Not really.
Still probably Russia. Russia's still allies with
and
everybody.
What's Russia going to do? Russia has like a tenth of the Navy it had when it was the Soviet Union.
Cool.
Okay.
Then they can't do nothing.
Preoccupied.
You're making my point. Nobody can do anything because our military is so strong. So
No.
don't mess with
Nobody
America.
can do anything.
America's keeping us safe. The military is. We are safe from these countries. You are actually making my point. What can they do?
No, what I'm saying is other countries have the good sense not to blow their national budget on needless defense spending when they could be using it to build up infrastructure and spend the money on other projects, or even just give their people tax cuts. The Cold War is over. World War II, long gone. Okay? There is no emergent threat in the world that challenges the United States. Even China is only a regional power, and all they care about is in their own region. Mm-hmm. And even if they did decide they ever wanted to rival the United States, well, am I really naive? Yeah. Because we're going to talk about who's naive in
Chamberlain,
a minute.
you really are naive.
I'm not Neville Chamberlain. But
it's the same thinking. It's the same thinking. It's looking right now. It's like, there's no threats here. There's nobody trying to invade us. Let's take down our security.
Okay,
Let's bring down this wall. There's no threats.
So
why would we have this right here? Because there's no threat right now. So let's take down our security. Let's take down our wall. Let's reduce the amount of security that we have here. We don't need this alarm system anymore that we're paying monthly payments on. Let's just take all it because there's no threats right now. So then you create by naivete, you create a situation to where now you can be threatened.
Okay.
I would rather not.
So with all this money that we're spending on defense, why? I mean, seriously, what are we defending? You say that we're defending the United States.
Yes.
But you and I grew up in the same United States. And when you look at things like the schools, you look at our infrastructure, you look at our roads and bridges, you look at all sorts of things from sea to shining sea in this country. You look at our healthcare system, which is no longer working for people. Half of people with cancer now go bankrupt within 2 years. What the heck are we defending with this military? Because we certainly aren't defending the American people. We are not making we're not making the country a better place. So what are we really defending with this military?
This is still a better place. There are still more people trying to get in than get out.
When America's,
Anybody
because
can
of
freely
what we're
get out.
doing in other countries. Look at what we've done in Honduras. Of course they want to come here because we've turned that place into a cesspool. They've
turned their own place into a cesspool.
No, we were very much involved. And it's this way around the globe. Of course they want to get the heck out of there. Wouldn't you? I mean, nobody gets on a boat and gets into the water unless the water is safer than land.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And everybody wants to get here because this is the better place.
Because we're the one country where, but the
that's
problem
protected
is,
and safe, and everybody wants to get here.
But the problem is we are on the decline domestically. There is a massive decline unlike any that has ever been experienced in American history. In fact, I can't think of a decline in American history. I can think of the Great Depression, but even during the Great Depression, we very quickly turned that around and we built things like the Hoover Dam. It took a couple of years, but relatively
couple of decades and a war.
It didn't take that long, okay? At most, you could argue a decade, but during that decade, we built the Hoover Dam. We built highways. We laid down sidewalks that you can still see when you go downtown. It literally has the little thing from the Civilian Conservation Corps or the WPA, the Public Works Authority. We built this country up, and we have stopped building this country up. And so here's what I want to pitch to you. You think that I'm naive, but perhaps there's something else going on. And so I want to throw this out there. Mm-hmm. Capitalism is, and I've been doing some more reading on capitalism. Mm-hmm. Now, previously on this show, I have defined capitalism as more or less the natural laws of economics. That definition is wrong. I was wrong.
Really?
I was completely wrong. So I do want to be the first one to admit that I was wrong. And the argument that very simply convinced me that I was wrong is natural economic laws exist without capitalism. Supply and demand exists under every economic system. Mm-hmm. It's not a product of capitalism at all. It is simply an economic law. It exists under communism. It exists under socialism. It exists under free market, mercantilism, or any of these other types of economic philosophies. It exists. So capitalism is, and it's very simple. It's only this. It is corporations exist. You're able to form a corporation.
Capitalism existed before corporations.
No, that's where you're wrong. Capitalism is a corporation exists to generate profit for shareholders who can then trade their shares. A company is a corporation.
Not all companies are corporations. A company can be capitalistic. and be proprietorship. In fact, majority of private businesses in the United States are proprietorships, not corporations. And they're still capitalists making profit for the individual owner. So it's not all corporations. Capitalism is not corporations.
Right. But capitalism is
Profits.
Well, basically, the entire purpose of the system is to generate profits and revenues, whether it's a sole proprietorship or an actual publicly traded or privately held corporation. They're all corporations. They may be privately held or they may be publicly traded. But the bottom line is the aim, the goal of all these businesses is to generate profits.
Yes.
Okay? That's capitalism.
Yeah.
Period.
Capitalism
it's not anything
is
more or less
is
than
generating
this.
profits, making
Okay.
yourself better by your own work.
So we agree then, what capitalism is. That
Capitalism
it's
is
an
the
engine
right
to generate profits.
It's the right to make a profit.
Well, certainly, absolutely. Okay. Now, in fact, it's not only the right to make a profit, it's fiduciary responsibility. Are you familiar with
Yes.
fiduciary
Yeah.
responsibility? Okay. That's your highest priority, your highest responsibility. That's what fiduciary means for you folks who are watching. And
I've heard of fiduciary, but okay.
The fiduciary, it's the same word. The fiduciary responsibility of a corporation is to generate profits for shareholders. Period. End of sentence. And in fact, if they fail to do this, the shareholders can literally sue the corporation for failure to meet the fiduciary responsibility. Okay, so
Michael is saying capitalism is the practice of profit from private property.
okay, I could agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, for once I agree with Michael. Okay, so what happens then is, in order to generate profits, capitalism needs access to cheap labor, cheap resources, and markets.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three critical elements that are needed. You need cheap labor to produce, you need cheap resources to produce with, and then you need access to markets. And guess who has the largest market in the world? The United States. We literally trade, buy, and share resources all around the globe. We have literally sent many of our jobs overseas to take advantage of cheap labor in other countries. We then extract cheap resources from all over the world, including Africa, South America, Asia, and more. And then we turn around and sell these products on a global market.
Mm-hmm.
So could it be possible that the purpose of our military is to prop up this economic web that we have spun around the globe far more than to fight terrorism or any real or emergent threat?
You seem to think that there is a difference between financial stability and safety.
Actually, no. I think financial stability is key to safety.
Okay. Well, then the military is there to keep our country safe.
By looking after financial stability.
If that's one of the ways.
So in other words, our wars are in fact wars for oil.
If it's to keep us safe.
To keep us safe. But what about the rest of the people in the world? We're not the only people on the planet.
Let them have their own armies to keep their territory safe. That's why you have an army, to keep your territory safe.
But so there's no ethical consideration for the welfare of people who live in
Of course
these
there is.
countries?
That's why the military, unlike any other military in the world, the U.S. military spends its billions of dollars developing weapons that do as little collateral damage as possible, whereas other countries don't care. Other countries build weapons that just drop the bomb and blow them up.
Right,
We'll spend millions of dollars on a single bomb to drop it at this spot to try to only get this bad guy. Who else does that? Who else spends that much money trying to reduce collateral damage? What other military does that?
Well, I really think that's, I don't know how to say it. I'm looking for a pithy saying, but it's really small compared to what we're doing around the globe and what our corporations are also doing around the globe, polluting, clear cutting, and other things. You have to consider, for example, when a single A-10 makes a firing pass on a tank or a tank column, it's firing depleted uranium rounds, which then leaves dust, literally irradiated dust all over the place. And that means anybody who breathes that in is going to get lung cancer eventually. We're literally spreading hazardous toxic waste around the globe through our everyday military operations. In fact, I don't know how much of a polluter the military is. I do know that the military is attempting to address the issue, and I think they have made some positive steps. But that's because we here at home publicly demand that they do so. We demand that they do something. It's the least we could do while we are taking their resources, killing their people, and then packaging everything up and making them buy it. Why do you think the United States aligns itself with dictators? We're not interested in promoting freedom or well-being. We're interested in those markets. And that's why we have alliances with literal dictators. Our biggest trading partner in the world is also one of the world's greatest human rights abusers.
China?
China, and it's a communist country. And yet they are our biggest trading partner because it's about the money. And that money then comes home and is spent by corporations to buy lobbyists, to buy politicians who then direct the military to do corporate bidding around the globe. This is not an ethical system. And that's why I argue that we need to do something about these 800 bases.
Okay.
That's it? Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, it's still the purpose of keeping America safe. And if we want to change how that's done, and if you want to change, if you want to fudge with the numbers, okay, let's fudge with the numbers. Let's spend a little more on infrastructure and a little less on this, or whatever we want to do.
A lot more and less on that.
But the purpose of the military is still to keep our country safe. That is the purpose of the military. That is why people volunteer. That is why they go into it, is so that the military can keep the fight out there and keep whatever, if it's economic safety, if it's terrorist safety, if it's political safety from other governments, stuff like that. That's why they fight. That's why they are there. That's what they are doing, and it is what they are accomplishing, which is keeping the homeland safe, keeping their relatives and their families safe at home.
That's what we tell people.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's why they're doing it.
Josh points out that cancer rates went up 1,000% in Iraq, depleted uranium. He also says we prefer dictators because they protect money and power at the expense of their own people. Even Bill Clinton referred to Suharto as our kind of guy, and he murdered hundreds of thousands in Timor with American bullets. Michael, I don't understand what you're talking about. Ayn Rand's philosophy, I welcome you to clarify that or explain. I'll read it on the air if it comes through. All right. So I don't have a problem with us having a military, and I don't have a problem with us defending ourselves with that military. I also don't have a problem with us going halfway around the world to destroy an emergent threat that is literally an imminent threat to the United States or our people or our way of life or what have you, our freedoms and all that.
It's just the difficulty of defining that.
Well, you have to. Yep. Otherwise, who are you dropping the bomb on? You know,
well,
it's like that.
Who they're dropping bombs on, I think, is very clear. Clearly evil bad guys who are, gassing their own gassing their own people, or warlords who are murdering their own civilizations there around there, and keeping food from getting to them. As humanitarian aid comes in, they cut it off and they don't let people get the food. Those are people that clearly, we are dropping bombs on those people.
Shouldn't the United Nations be doing more of this?
The United Nations is crap. They can't do nothing.
Okay, but why not reform it so that it's an effective peacekeeping humanitarian
It never
agency?
has been. It's more corrupt than what you claim the United States government is.
It is, and it's very political. And it's because, you have these old alliances, and both alliances have a seat at the table, and they veto one another, which makes the organization largely ineffective. And that's an issue, and we need to address this. But at the end of the day, we're spending, again, more than 12 times the next, or the next 12 nations combined. We're outspending them in terms of defense. And we need to bring even just a fraction of this money home. Could make a big impact to our infrastructure, to our schools. We could fix Flint. In just the amount of money we spend to operate our military for just a few hours could probably fix the entire water system in Flint. Give people clean drinking water. And Flint is only one case out of actually many places in the United States that do not have clean drinking water. Puerto Rico, by the way, we have military installations there, but they also went 11 months without electricity. Again, what are we doing with this military? Why aren't we dropping food and other things?
They did.
Okay, why does it take 11 months to turn on the power in Puerto Rico?
Because the infrastructure there of the politicians there wouldn't let it happen.
Then we need to be cleaning that up. Then we need to be
dropped there and wasted. It was just all dropped there and not distributed by their country because they wanted the political power of saying, look, we don't have power.
Then we need to be cleaning that up.
So
and we need to be spending our money and our resources. And
so you want a bigger military force to go in there and force it to be right.
I want the people to have, first of all, the right to self-determination. And if they choose to be governed or be part of the United States, then we need to give them statehood. And we need to treat them like citizens of the United States. And if they have corrupt political leadership, we need to prosecute that, get effective political leadership in, people who represent the people. We need to turn the damn lights on in a matter of days to weeks tops, not 11 minutes or 11 months. But anyway, I'm sorry, it's very frustrating for me. But, so I really think we need to look at how we spend our money. And I think there are ways, again, what the hell are we defending with these 800 bases?
We're defending the greatest nation in the world.
$1 trillion budget.
And we're keeping us safe.
When our schools are dilapidated, our bridges and roads are crumbling, our infrastructure is garbage.
And
people in the United States don't even have clean drinking water that's safe to drink. What the heck are we defending? We are our own worst enemy, and part of that enemy is our politicians who spend the money on defense, which then goes to contractors, which then comes back as kickbacks to lobbyists. If you want to find the real enemy, it's not Al-Qaeda, it's not ISIS. It's our own darn leadership. It's Congress.
Well, we all know that Congress is messed up. We all know that's the first place to fix. That's the first thing to fix. So when are you going to
take those guns and deal with the tyranny in our midst? Isn't that the point of the Second Amendment?
You want me to raise arms?
No.
You want me to raise? You're calling for. See, this is.
I'm committing an act of hyperbole by far. But at the end of the day, I think
I'm saying
a legitimate question.
If
we are
hold
on.
I'm saying if somebody else said that about a liberal, you would call that inciting violence. You would call that inciting violence.
I'm being hyperbolous.
No, I'm saying even if they were being hyperbolous, you would still call that inciting violence. You would show that as an evidence of look at the conservatives inciting violence.
Okay, I'm not going to
argue.
But
you're the one who is actually doing it.
Okay, you win. I'm not going to argue that point. But the bottom
you do
line
it with the stupid guillotines too, and that sickens me.
Well,
sickens me.
There are some people who have it coming, but
all right. Well, that's the end of this show, guys. Thank you very much. I'm not going to sit here and talk with you when you espouse that type of thing. Like, hey, those rich people have death coming. Those guillotines are coming for them.
There are people who are robbing you and I blind with our tax dollars,
and you don't have the right to murder them. And you don't have the right. You don't have the right to joke about murdering them and posting that on the internet and saying, "Hey, those guillotines are coming." You're inciting violence, and that is detestable, Marshall. As my friend, I'm telling you, that's detestable to me. And I won't sit here with someone who espouses that. If that's what you're going to jokingly around and say, hey, some of those people just need to be killed. If that's your attitude, I don't think you belong on this show. Do you really believe that?
How is that different from supporting what our military does around the world when it drops bombs on
bad guys? Yes.
People? But innocent people are also killed in the process.
Because the cowardly bad guys are hiding among innocent people.
One is political rhetoric and the other one is quite real.
When a bad guy hides behind innocent people, we do our best and spend all the money that we can to only get the bad guy. That's what the United States military does. And if you're gonna be a coward and hide among innocent people, you're the one killing the innocent people.
How about we don't drop the bomb at all?
Sure, just let all the bad guys do whatever they want.
We need to find a more effective tactic, right? Don't we? All right.
How do we get rid of bad guys?
Well, we don't kill innocent people in the process.
How do you get rid of bad guys?
I don't know. There's many different ways to eliminate a bad guy, but you don't ever kill an innocent person. Just like I have to concede that you don't guillotine a person who is innocent. And maybe I do need to change what I post on the internet and my attitude towards that.
I appreciate that.
Okay? But I also think we need to think very much about our real world policy that has real world consequences, both home and abroad.
I believe we do. I believe America beyond any other country does. How many times have we heard the stories from the soldiers that the bad guys got away because they wouldn't let us shoot at the mosque? How many times have we heard the stories of American soldiers saying we had them in our sights, but we couldn't do it because of the bad America.
That's what we need to hear.
That's what's happening. That is what's happening.
And that's
America
okay,
is
because
the
there are
American
different
military
ways.
is the only military that does that goes out of their way not to kill innocent people. Let the bad guy get away. And then the one time we think we got him, and it turns out they were hiding with some innocent people, and we get called on, hey, you killed all these innocent people. No, we're trying to get that guy, and that guy hid some innocent people with him so that we could look bad.
Okay, but I don't think it's ever acceptable to kill innocent people. And I do want to suggest that there are bad guys that are just as bad as any terrorist overseas right here in our nation that are doing real harm to real people.
Then you find the evidence, and you bring them to justice.
Even if that justice is pretty severe penalty?
I mean, what is there a death penalty for? What's the death penalty for? If there's evidence that they murdered someone, then you bring them before a court and you bring them before justice and you take them and you do what you need to do, whatever the law says.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
But you bring them to court. You don't mob and grab them and chop off their heads.
Fair enough. There should always be a trial. I agree. And it should be done lawfully. I agree with that.
And you look at every single military action, how much is recorded, how much has to be reported, how often does that get questioned and checked and brought and is done justly.
Maybe if we had less of a military presence around the world, there would be fewer terrorists?
No.
Well, all right.
There would just be more military action on our country. There'd be more threat to us.
All right. Well, that's that.
This has been A Valid Answer with Scott and Marshall. You can catch us on Sundays at 5 right here at Kerncast or on A Valid Answer. Search for us on with either A Valid Answer or Kerncast on Facebook, and also on Mondays at 4. And until next time, this has been A Valid Answer with Scott and Marshall. Catch you guys later.
Thank you.